think of a better place in the country to go tailgating than Madison, Wisconsin. The fans here have turned tailgating into an art form. And this is a very special Saturday night in Madison. It's the Big Ten Conference debut of the Nebraska Cornhuskers. A sea of red here tonight. Welcome to Saturday Night Football, presented by Southwest Airlines. You are looking at a raucous Camp Randall Stadium in Madison, Wisconsin. One of the biggest home games in Badgers history. They hosted the Big Ten debut for Nebraska, and Nebraska could not have asked for a tougher welcome to the Big Ten. Good evening and welcome everybody. With Kirk Street, I'm Brent Musburger. Thanks for dropping by. This is a special night here. Herbie, let's talk about the two quarterbacks. Let's start with Taylor Martinez, the great runner for the Cornhuskers.
Well, he, in fact, is a great runner. We saw that last year, his freshman year. He got a little bit dinged up late in the year with a turf toe and an ankle, but he's 100% healthy, and we know what he's capable of doing. We've seen it in the past. You know that he's a lot of times going to be in the shotgun, the spread formation, where he's going to make the read. He's going to try to determine whether or not the defensive end collapses down on Rex Burkhead or to pull it out and be able to make yards on his own. And here he pulls it out and makes significant yards with his feet. I think a big key tonight will be the play action pass. They've got to get the Wisconsin safeties down in the box and go to the play action. This is a new part of their offense that Tim Beck, their new offensive coordinator, has brought in. And Martinez shows that he is capable, and now he has receivers like Kenny Bell capable of getting behind safeties if you crowd the line of scrimmage, something that at some point tonight they're going to have to do if they want to have success.
And Herbie, the fans know the story about Russell Wilson, a Badgers scorer, basically a free agent from North Carolina State, fell into their arms.
Well, it's been a great story so far the first month of the season to watch what he has an ability to do within this offense. It's Wisconsin. You know they love to run the football, but with Russell Wilson, he brings a different dimension. He has the ability to get outside and break contain. They've always had the play action game here. You remember Scott Tolzien last year when he threw very, very well for these guys, but see how he uses his speed to get outside? That's something that Nebraska's very aware of and concerned about. The other aspect is when you cover people downfield, the line provides a nice pocket for him. This is the element we've never seen before in the past. A quarterback at Wisconsin that can pull it down and has the quickness to accelerate downfield and pick up huge yards. Again, something Nebraska has got to be concerned about on third down.
Nebraska is determined to bring pressure, and they've got Jared Crick back at defensive tackle.
And you and I both know maybe one of the best defensive tackles in all of college football. Now that he's back healthy with Steinkuhler in the middle, I think it's going to be an interesting battle between the big hog mollies from Wisconsin's offensive line and those big boys on the other side from Nebraska.
All right, so it should be interesting here tonight. The Big Ten Conference debut for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Nebraska visits Madison to take on Wisconsin. All right, John, and the Badgers arrive. This is a team that is 4-0 and averaging over 48 points a game while giving up only 8. This has been the Nissan pregame shift. Kickoff is coming up live from Madison. And now a look inside. Well, Nebraska fans need some new maps. This week, their Big Ten debut start out on 80, switch to 151, 478 miles later, and they're in Madison, Wisconsin. And there are thousands on hand here tonight. Erin Andrews is also on hand. She's down with the Badgers coach, Brett Bielema. Let's go to Erin.
Brent, thanks so much. You mentioned this week that Nebraska's defense does a lot of substitution without huddling. How do you counter that?
Their offense.
Yeah,
their offense. We have to be on top of it from the box as well as on the sideline. Our kids got to be into it on the sideline so we know we got 5 seconds to sub.
And speaking again of your defense, you're without 2 starters tonight. What's key for your defense then?
Well, the guys that are in there got to play the plan. I like the way they practice, and they'll be ready to roll.
All right, Brent, thanks.
Well, Brett played at Iowa, and Bo Pelini was a safety at Ohio State. So the Big Ten is not new to Coach Pelini of the Cornhuskers. And here he is, ready. Now, interestingly enough, the Badgers won the flip and elected to take the ball. So we will see Russell Wilson and that high-powered offense as we settle back into the night.
and enjoy our opening kickoff here, ladies and gentlemen, with the two quarterbacks ready to go to work. James White from the goal line for the Badgers to the 22-yard line. And now for the first time tonight, we will see Russell Wilson, the young man who has a minor league baseball career behind him, 3 years as starter at North Carolina State, Herbie. And here he is coming out with the offense, even though we had a player shaken up on the kickoff. Wozniak, I believe, is down, Herbie, as we await the first snap to Russell Wilson.
Yeah, and you touched on it. We talked about it in the open. Russell Wilson, Brent, one of the amazing stories about him, not just the numbers, over 1,000 yards already in just 4 games, completing 76% of his passes and 11 touchdowns to 1 interception. But he got on this campus in July 1st. And his goal was to work as hard as he could for 1 month to consume that playbook. So by the time camp opened, he would have the plays down and the offense down and be ready to go for camp. And that was a great goal of his. And obviously he was able to achieve that.
Now we can take a look at the timeline when he said he would skip spring football and focus on baseball. And then a few months later, Coach Tom O'Brien and State released him from his scholarship. That made him basically a free agent because he already had his degree, and it is legal to play right away if you take another graduate course, which Wilson has elected to do. And there he is addressing himself to Bill Lamagnier, the Big Ten referee and one of the best referees in the country. So number 16 is ready to go, and he has 2 outstanding running backs. You already saw James White return the opening kickoff, and he has number 28, Monty Ball, the junior from Wentzville, Missouri, in behind him in the eye. And here is Ball going nowhere against that defensive front, and Crick makes his first stop of the night. Number 94 makes an impact. And speaking of impact players, these are 4 pretty good ones for the Badgers.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Russell Wilson, we talked about. Monty Ball, obviously doing a great job in the backfield along with James White. Nick Toon is healthy, needs to have a big night tonight, being able to offset the speed of Nebraska. And then Chris Borland, when Wisconsin gets on defense, the middle linebacker, number 44, back from an injury from a year ago.
And this could be Wilson's first pass of the night. Nope, they're going to keep it right on the ground. Come right back in the power eye with Monty Ball. Some of you folks might remember Monty Ball when Herbie and I had him in the Rose Bowl in that great game in which they lost to TCU. He rushed 22 times for 132 yards that day in Pasadena and scored a touchdown.
Really came on late in the year with the injury to John Clay, and he and James White became a 1-2 punch for Wisconsin's offense in the latter part of the year, and now it continues in 2011.
Wilson has completed 76% of his passes here for the Badgers. Number 1, and Crick couldn't bring him down. The slide step and complete to Abrederis. But watch the side slap as he eludes Crick.
Brandon, that's what he brings to the table. The quickness, the ability to avoid. Jared Crick is untouched, and he's able to sidestep him. And then on the back end, how about the job of Abrederis here adjusting to the ball? Ciante Evans never turned his head around and found the football, but the receiver, the sophomore, did a good job of coming back to the football.
Now James White checks in as the tailback for the Badgers. And he gets his first call of the night. And sprinting to the outside, Damian Stafford comes up and makes the stop.
You know, Monty Ball is along part of the 1-2 punch here with James White. Has dropped about 25 pounds. He's much quicker, but still they complement one another very well, and it allows them to always have a fresh back in the backfield with these two competing against each other. Actually good friends and cheer each other on. It's not one of these things where they're looking forward to getting that guy, one of the guys, out of the lineup. They like to see each other do well.
Ball is in, and Russell's back in the shotgun as wide receiver Garner also on the field for the Badgers. Into double coverage and complete. No, incomplete. Waved off, and that was Jacob Pedersen, one of the many outstanding tight ends who have come through Madison.
Well, there have been a lot of Nebraska fans who've been critical of this Nebraska defense in the first 4 weeks. And, you know, last year they played at such a high level. They lost some key members of that defensive unit off to the NFL, and it takes time. This is a sophisticated scheme. And I think this young secondary is starting to really adjust and learn about, they talk about leverage. And we'll talk about what leverage means in pass defense in a moment.
Carl Pelini sent in the defensive signal, and yes, he is the brother of the head coach, Bo. Wilson's being sacked for the first time. That was Levante David, and he is a tackling machine for the Cornhuskers.
And that's what Carl Pelini and Bo Pelini want to do, is they want to try to confuse you with pressure. They're going to show you a variety of looks. They're going to take up all of the offensive linemen. And 48 Pedersen that time, I think, was the guy who ended up getting confused. He didn't slide over in time to be able to pick up the blitzing linebacker. And that's the second time now here early in this game we've seen a Nebraska defender come clean.
Brad Nortman with the first punt. Tim Marlowe and Amir Abdullah are back, and this is Abdullah with the fair catch at the 18-yard line. So we will be looking at Taylor Martinez and the Cornhuskers offense when you come back. We're back in Madison, and if you haven't seen Nebraska this year, you're going to see a brand new offense. They feature the option. And Taylor Martinez, as Herbie pointed out, very dangerous. He'll run the toss play on the first down with Burkhead around to the right. And they are going to attack the edges here, Herbie, as you look at their impact players.
And they've got the speed to do that with Taylor Martinez and Rex Burkhead, 22 in the backfield. We've already seen Jared Crick and Levante David both had a chance to make a sack. Crick missed Wilson, and David came up with a big sack. That'll be a lot of work on that side of the football for those two.
First carry for Martinez, and he picks up a first down.
This is a part of that new offense that you talked about. They'll mix it up. They really felt that with Tim Beck taking over, he said, we wanted to get tougher. We wanted to get, quite honestly, a lot like our defense, where we're complicated and at the same time simplified, but get mentally and physically tougher on our side of the ball.
Now from the pistol, a formation they use a lot. And Martinez completes his first pass to Jamal Turner. And he's a freshman you want to keep your eyes on. A very highly recruited quarterback out of high school. One of the plays that they're going to spring, maybe not tonight, the end around, and Turner is going to come up firing. He's a dandy. Tyler Legate is the fullback and one of Herbie's favorites. Martinez rolls, and he's going to chuck it deep to double coverage, incomplete. And Ununwa, I should say. Let me correct myself. Quincy Ununwa was the target.
They're going to try to get the football thrown downfield. And when you try to throw it downfield, you got to be careful as a quarterback of getting locked into the receiver. The receiver's going to stretch vertically, and he's got double coverage. Look at the tight end Cotton underneath. It's okay to take a shot downfield to keep those safeties back, but once in a while you can't predetermine what you're going to do with the football when Cotton breaks loose on the backside as a tight end.
2nd and 10, and as Martinez came up to the line, timeout was called by the Cornhuskers. Their first timeout. We should point out that defensively, the Badgers are shorthanded. They have lost 3 starters. Devin Smith earlier in the season went out, and he was a starting corner. Tonight they're also without David Gilbert, who broke a bone in his foot in practice. He won't play for several weeks. And Shelton Johnson, the starting safety, he's available only for emergency use here tonight. So, Herbie, the Badgers are shorthanded on the defensive side of the ball.
And I think one of the things that this defense, it's really untested at this point. They've taken on some teams that were inferior to them. They knew they were better, and I think this is the first time that they're really going to be put on their heels. You see right now early, this tempo causing a little bit of confusion for Brett Bielema and the Badger defense.
Martinez now faces a 2nd and 10. going to the boundary with the option. Tough sledding over there. That's hard to go, and Claxton the first to hit him, and then he gets help.
One of the things that Wisconsin is going to do tonight, and they're going to spy Taylor Martinez with the safety southward, number 12. They're going to walk him up close to the line of scrimmage, so many times you're going to have as many as 8, even 9 men up close to the line of scrimmage, depending on that formation, and that's why we talk about the importance of Martinez and his receivers eventually making some plays in the pass game.
This is a big third down, and Nebraska's converted only 42% of its third downs in their first 4 games. Martinez fumbles but gets back on it, ball's loose. One of the issues, Herbie, with Martinez has been ball security.
No doubt about it. In fact, that is the 14th fumble this year by Nebraska's offense, and Bo Pelini telling us this week that's one of the most important things. How about Nzegwu's effort there to be able to put the pressure? Looked like he might come up with a sack. Martinez has got to take care of that football, and Nebraska fortunate to be able to get back on it.
Now Bruderis back number 4 to return this for the Badgers. He fields it at the 17, cuts up the middle, and down at the 38-yard line, and that ball went down. That ball came loose. Cornhuskers are signaling that they have it. And Bell gets out of the bottom of the pile, and indeed they do. The first turnover of the game, and they're in Badger territory.
I'm almost positive they're going to take another look at this to see if his right knee was down. Now the ball's out, clearly. No question about it. That is a great angle right there. Nebraska catches the first break of this game.
So Rex Burkhead, Taylor Martinez, they are right back on the field to go to work. An option to the right, and Martinez keeping it all the way to the 35-yard line, picking up 4 yards on the play.
Well, those linebackers right now really flowing to the football. Chris Borland, 44, Mike Taylor. These guys understand this defense. They've been around. It's good to see them both healthy. Both have fought through numerous injuries, and tonight they come into this game feeling good and playing very, very fast.
Nebraska loads up with 2 tight ends. And Martinez showing that pistol formation where the quarterback is a little bit closer to the center than in the regular shotgun. Protection, got one-on-one, going deep. No flag over there. Anunwa, the deep target again, Quincy Anunwa.
Well, Anunwa gets one-on-one, and you saw that the quarterback Martinez go to the check because he saw one-on-one to the outside, and this is where Nebraska, in my opinion, has changed the most. Not just the option under center, but a willingness to give the ball to Taylor Martinez, and when he sees one-on-one in a crowded line of scrimmage, try to take some shots downfield and try to win a one-on-one battle with his new group of wide receivers.
On third down, fires for the first down, and a nifty grab at the 25-yard line, and that was Brandon Kinney who grabbed this pass, the senior from Kansas City.
Wisconsin showing blitz. They backed out of it, only rushed 3, and they dropped 8. I think they feel that one of the toughest things for the quarterback Martinez to do is read the zone coverage. That time he put it right into the window, and a great adjustment by Kinney.
It's a first down at the 22, and Martinez keeps it again to the 19-yard line, picking up about 3, and Cahoot makes the stop for the Badgers.
Your opening comment about this offense and the option attack, very clear that Brett Bielema and his defensive staff looked at the same film that we've all looked at, and they are racing to the perimeter. As soon as they see an option look, they're racing to the outside to try to beat Burkhead or the quarterback Martinez. It's like Cotton is down with an injury there. They've taken him off the field.
So Ben Cotton, one of the starting tight ends, and a good one. He is an excellent run blocker, and he's been shaken up, and he goes over to the sideline.
But the answer to that and the way Nebraska has to counter is they've got to attack into the interior of Wisconsin's defense.
So Marcel Jones has been the starter at right tackle today instead of the freshman Tyler Moore for the Huskers. He's number 78. Burkhead down just short, I believe, of that first down marker. We'll see where the official spots the ball.
It's exactly what we just said. If they're gonna race out of there, you've got to be able to attack the interior of the defense and trust your offensive line to be able to come up with some blocks. He follows the big tackle and also the tight end that time. Kyler Reed gets a good block, pushing the linebacker to the inside.
Andrew Rodriguez has started at left guard, so Bo Pelini has juggled his offensive line here tonight, and now it is 3rd and 1. Legate is in front of Burkhead. And he'll go for the first down. Fumble! And I believe the Huskers jumped on it. Ball came down, but it was recovered by Nebraska.
Well, good battle on the inside there between Nebraska's offensive line and the Wisconsin D-line. Again, those linebackers are getting out of there. Plenty of seams in the interior of the defense. Good hit, though, that time by the corner, Finellis, and the safety also coming up there southward.
Kyler Reed saved the moment.
Sure did.
Jumped on the loose ball, and now it's a first down as a result of that play. And here comes Martinez. He'll take off to the left. And he makes the most of that busted play, Harvey.
And that's no man's land for Kevin Claxton. The outside linebacker was trying to keep contained, and he said, oh, no. I've looked at this guy on film all week, and now I've got to try to not let him get outside of me. He did a pretty good job of not letting the quarterback Martinez get to the corner and into the end zone.
2nd down and goal. To the boundary again. Martinez toward the end zone. Touchdown. Cornhuskers strike first. So the sellout crowd grows a little quiet as we take a look at the replay to make sure that he broke across the line. And I believe the ball broke the plane, but it was coming loose, wasn't it?
It was. It's really, is his knee down? I think his knee may be down. They're definitely going to take a look at this. But Brent, that offensive line getting a good push. Kyler Reed, the tight end, involved there as well. But I think his knee may have been down before he broke the plane.
Well, there's a very good replay official right next to us in the booth. Dick Honig is a long-time Big Ten referee. So he's upstairs right now running the replay back and forward to see if this is indisputable video evidence here, and then they will tell Bill LeMonnier on the field.
You can see it right. You can see his knee come down, Brent, right there is his knee down, and here's the football right here. So I gotta believe it. They'll probably place that about the half-yard line.
And from there, Nebraska will still be favored to score. Rex Burkhead has rushed for 7 touchdowns, and Taylor Martinez has rushed for 7.
But the battle in the trenches on that drive played right into the hands of what Bo Pelini and Tim Beck, the offensive coordinator, wanted to see. And the tempo from Nebraska also, I think, caused some problems that time for Wisconsin on that drive.
When Brett Bielema was playing at Iowa, Bo Pelini was a graduate assistant, but they did not cross paths much on that team. Bielema was a defensive player for the Hawkeyes, but Bo Pelini, who had played defense, wanted to work the offensive side of the ball. So he asked Hayden Fry if he could work over there, and he said, I knew Brett and I was around him, but I really did not coach him as a GA. But the two were together on that same team.
Following the video review, it's been determined the ball was at the half-yard line when the runner's knee was down. Third down at the half-yard line.
So it'll be third down, and the only decision that Bo is running over in his mind, what happens if they stop my third down play? Do I come right back from the half-yard line? But he has one of the best field goal specialists in the country in Brett Maher. So Bo is thinking 2 plays at a time, but first things first. Here comes third and goal for the Huskers. Mano. Welcome to the Big Ten, and Martinez takes it across cleanly this time.
And Martinez had a few words there for Borland, the linebacker, when we got into the end zone. You're not going to question this one. I like that mano to mano, and that's Nebraska right there. Nebraska, you're right. This is old school Nebraska football with this option look. I love the way they're being aggressive, willing to take some shots downfield. Puts a lot of pressure on this Badgers defense.
So here is Brett Maher, and he is lethal as a kicker. The underdog Cornhuskers, a double-digit underdog, strike first in Madison. So the colors are changing, and the boats are coming out of the water. That's Devil's Lake State Park. And a couple days ago, a pretty fierce windstorm came through this area, followed by some nippy weather. Tonight, it's perfect for football, Mr. Herbstreit.
Oh, perfect. A couple nights ago, I thought, boy, the winter's already settling in up here in the north.
James White is back deep again for the Badgers. Abrederis this time will come from the 5, upended at the 15. A penalty flag is thrown.
On the return, holding, number 17. Half the distance to the goal. First down.
Very tough field position coming up, and let's go back to that touchdown.
Let's not forget how that touchdown was set up. Abrederis trying to make a big return, ends up getting hit, ball comes out. Nebraska gets great field position. They take advantage of it, and then they get, looks like what we thought was a touchdown. They come back out, and as Brent, you said, man on man. You got Spencer Long and Marcel Jones, and Ben Cotton lead the way for the quarterback. Taylor Martinez takes it in for the first touchdown tonight.
Monty Ball will open as the tailback. Russell Wilson facing poor field position. He'll start off with Ball, and not much doing. Well, it's a very busy night in sports, and for our first update, here's Robert Flores in the studio.
Hey, Brent, Taco Bell studio update. This morning on game day, Herbie mentioned that John Brantley wasn't throwing the ball downfield a great deal, but here he airs it out 65 yards to Andre DeBose. They have scored another one, but that TD is under review. They lead by 10. Clemson over Virginia Tech right now on ESPN2.
Charlie Weiss, the offensive coordinator, has a lot of speed to work with there, Herbie. And here on the play action, Russell Wilson on second down has picked up a first down. Jared Abrederis, the sophomore, makes the catch.
Respecting the running game, a lot of times creates one-on-one opportunities, and even against Dennard, who's one of the top corners in the country, matched up against Abrederis, who's still a walk-on looking to earn a scholarship, going up against one of the top corners, makes the play one-on-one and a perfect throw, and the timing between Russell Wilson and Abrederis.
18 passing yards for Wilson. He's now 2 of 3 for 39 yards, and they might as well keep it in the air. Good success so far. There's the play action. They're going to come up firing right away. Diving, but can't hang on. Incomplete to Pedersen, the tight end. And there's a flag on the play.
They're going to have to start throwing the ball with that battle up front in the trenches right now, Brent. I think that Nebraska crowding the line.
Pass interference, defense, number 3. 15-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
That is Stafford.
This is part of that youth. He's a junior college player. They're loaded up to stop the run first, and Pedersen has tremendous speed for a tight end, and Stafford comes in a little bit late. Really a close call, but because he got a hold of that jersey as the ball was coming in, that's what the official called him for.
The ball is moved out to the Badgers 44. Marty Ball is the running back. Right to right side, and a good 11-yard burst for a first down before Austin Cassidy brings him to the ground.
And Will Compton, 51, actually overruns the play. He's going to move to the outside, and it creates an opening back to the inside. Great block and a great matchup for you at home to watch. Wisconsin's offensive line is built on double teams and getting up to blocking the linebackers. Nebraska wants to prevent that. Their defensive linemen want to eat up those double teams and free up those linebackers. That time Wisconsin had the edge.
Jake Byrne and Pedersen are the two tight ends operating for the Badgers. Wilson running away from Crick. Now gets back and takes off. 30-yard line, out of bounds at the 25-yard line. And there, Herbie, is what you said, the ability to make something happen running. 21 yards.
And Cameron Meredith, 34, has it right there. But the speed and quickness and recognition of Russell Wilson, he's able to keep the play alive, and that's a difference maker. When Sean Fisher has a chance to make a play for a short gain, and you give him a little bit of a shake, we just had not seen this part of a Wisconsin offense maybe ever. And that's what he brings to the table, and that's what creates so much stress for a defense, because you're trying to cover those tight ends and receivers, and now you've got a quarterback running downfield.
They come right back with the hammer. So Monty Ball on a first down carry. When you take a look at the offensive line size, they measure up pretty good to the world champs.
They're big boys, no doubt about it, with an inch and a few pounds. And there are a lot of guys that play on this offensive line that eventually will be playing somewhere up in the NFL. In fact, they had a few in last year's unit that are up not only playing but starting in the NFL.
Some of them are watching, Herbie. The Packers are at home tomorrow with a late afternoon game against the Denver Broncos. That is Nick Toon in motion, number 1. They come back with ball, shakes a tackle, another first down. David makes the stop, and the Badgers are just shy of the 10-yard line.
Well, if they are watching, they're going to really appreciate Travis Frederick, the left guard, 72. Watch him pull around. You've got to be able to pull when you play on this offensive line, and he did exactly what he needed to do, kind of sealed the edge, took away Levante David and his speed, and it allows the running back to get to the corner and get downfield. Love watching these Wisconsin linemen. I don't care how big they are, they still kind of move around, and they pull them, and they get them out there against linebackers and defensive backs.
3 of their linemen who were here last year are now starting in the NFL. Remarkable that this group is doing as well as they are. Peter Kahns is back. He's the center for the Badgers. Kevin Zeitler is the right guard. They're the ringleaders. But Ricky Wagner switched over from right to left tackle. He's going to be a good one. Travis Frederick is the left guard, and Josh Oglesby is the right tackle. They just plug in new, outstanding offensive linemen here in Madison, and they have ever since Barry Alvarez put the show on the road back in the 90s. Straight ahead, just shy of the goal line. It'll be a 1st and goal.
It's going to be survival of the fittest by the time we get to the 4th quarter with these offensive lines. Both sides kind of leaning on the defensive line and linebackers. It's a whole different kind of world as we live in this era of the spread and people trying to run sideline to sideline with their offensive linemen. These guys are going to run right at you.
Now it's the Badgers' turn. And they power for a touchdown. Monty Ball has now rushed for 10 touchdowns already this season. So the Badgers give up a touchdown and respond with a 91-yard drive.
That's exactly what you have to do to get this crowd back into the game. And to get this team back to being confident, kind of get their mojo back. That was a great drive, and they did it the old-fashioned way there by running the football.
And here's a good sign for Badger fans. That was Philip Welsh, who's been sidelined with a quad injury, on to kick the extra point. He holds numerous records already, and they welcome him back as their kicker. Well, this week on ESPN's Monday Night Football, Dwight Freeney will lead the Indianapolis Colts defense against Josh Freeman and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Herbie, it is something when we do an Indianapolis Colt promo and we don't have a Peyton Manning to talk about. You can see some of the marquee games that they had built around and what a difference it makes when he is not in that lineup.
Is there anybody in the NFL that means more to their team? I mean, Tom Brady from New England.
I think maybe Manning means even more to the Colts,
based on what we've seen.
Discussion.
Yeah, it really is.
So after tying the game, and that's Bo Pelini with the defensive players around him on the sideline, and his offense will get the ball again. Here's Abdullah. And the Badgers shut him down at the 25-yard line. Good coverage by the special team.
And you and I were talking at the break about how big that was. They had even Wisconsin even had a penalty on the kickoff return, pushed them further back. But this is the way they close it off, Wisconsin style. Right guard Kevin Zeitler leads the way along with the tight end Jacob Pedersen. And when you get a block like that, 82 also chipping in. Jake Byrne, he kind of held the edge there against the big defensive end Cameron Meredith. That's textbook Wisconsin football. You can talk all you want about Russell Wilson. At the end of the day, they've still got to be able to run the football.
So Taylor Martinez brings the Huskers offense, and that's movement on the right side. Moore, who did not start the game, is guilty of the penalty. He's going to be a good one down the road. He's a freshman from Clearwater, Florida, 6'6", 290. And he was probably pretty eager after not starting the game. And the coaches are pretty unhappy. So Marcel Jones, the veteran, the senior from Phoenix, is back on the field at right tackle. Option to the left. Martinez is swallowed after a 2-yard gain, and there's Claxton again.
And Claxton has a very important role a lot of times when you see Taylor Martinez running the G option, the speed option, trying to get out to the edge. The man he's a lot of times reading on determining if he's going to pitch the ball or keep the ball is Kevin Claxton. That time he did a really nice job of waiting and then all of a sudden accelerating down and taking the quarterback Martinez out.
Toss play as they bring an edge. Abdullah, they bring him off the left side and toss to him, and he finds the edge for a nice gain.
Now this is a different game, a different tempo for Nebraska's offense, and because of the speed of Wisconsin's defense, these offensive linemen in that time, I think it was Marcel Jones who just checked back in the game. Nzegwu was moving so quick, he underestimated that speed, and he had to hold on to him to be able to sustain his block.
Holding, 78 offense, 10-yard penalty, 8-second out.
Nzegwu does a good job fighting again. This Wisconsin defense is trying to get outside, and Nzegwu is getting out there. He's a high school tailback, and to the right of the screen, it's all really Marcel Jones could do because he was beat at the point of attack.
He was holding on to Nzegwu and pulled him back. Second and a bunch. This is not the situation Martinez wants to find himself in. He'll throw deep. He's got a man wide open. First down. Anunwa. Quincy Anunwa, and a busted coverage as the secondary loses him.
That's exactly right. You see three receivers, you see three defensive backs, confusion in the back end. That's exactly what happened. Half of them were playing man-to-man, the other half were playing zone.
A 29-yard gain, and now they come back with the power running game. Burkhead gets the carry.
You've got a quarterback that's struggling to complete more than 50% of his passes, and you have him in 2nd and 20+. Wisconsin had Nebraska in a hole, and they let him out.
So, Herbie, after one, we're deadlocked at 7. And this presentation of Saturday Night Football, presented by Southwest Airlines, returns after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Well, we are all even here in Madison, and Alabama has just tied Florida in Gainesville. They too are deadlocked at 10. Here it's 7-7, and each team with 94 yards of offense. And now closing in on 100 with that run by Martinez to the 40-yard line for the Huskers.
This old-fashioned Nebraska. When I say old-fashioned, going back to the zone read from the pistol. Nezegwu comes down, collapses down on Burkhead, even fakes the cameraman out. And that's how we saw so many times Rex Burkhead and Taylor Martinez working together for Nebraska offense a year ago.
Pressure coming, and Martinez throws against it to the 30-yard line, and I believe that's a first down. Kenny Bell, his first catch of the night.
How about Taylor Martinez recognizing coverage? Really just a different guy. He made the check. He sees the blitz coming from the outside linebacker. Chris Borland got a hand up, almost knocked it down, but good recognition and good job of getting the ball out.
Second down and very short. Burkhead makes it official. It is now 1st and 10 for the Huskers. Tough runner, both inside and outside. He can fool you with his speed, and he'll also be a good blocker. So he's one of those all-purpose backs that through the years have come out of Lincoln, Nebraska. Fine football player. Their preferred look here has been the pistol. Play action. Wide open in the middle, Cotton, and Cotton, who was shaken up early, takes it to the 1-yard line. Martinez comes up throwing.
1st and 10. Great job of calling this by Tim Beck. You think that they're in the pistol, there's going to be a zone read. He reads it perfectly to the inside of the defense, and Cotton, who's becoming a better receiver, shows the soft hands and almost gets it into the end zone. Nice call by Tim Beck.
Noseman rushes onto the field for the Badgers.
It's that option again.
Martinez keeps it, takes a pounding, and it will be 2nd and goal. The one thing about option football, and the reason why you don't see it on Sunday, your quarterback is going to take a lot of punishment, as Martinez did right there. Legate getting things squared away. He's the fullback. On the toss, Burkhead busts it in for Nebraska's 2nd touchdown, and now he, like Martinez, has 8 touchdowns rushing on the season.
Very, very impressive drive. 10 plays, 74 yards. Seeing a couple offenses right now executing, and I think both quarterbacks kind of settling in here. Love to see Nebraska willing to be aggressive with their play calling, and they've got a different quarterback this year in Taylor Martinez with his understanding of this offense and the way he's executing right now.
The previous play is under review.
So they'll take a look upstairs just to make sure that Burkhead made it across the goal line before Maher will attempt the extra point, which would leave us tied. We thought coming in that we might see a little more defense, but a scoring game has broken out here in Madison.
And I think, again, with Nebraska, and it looks like he got across. I don't know what the question might be. This might be a better angle to see if they thought maybe his knee touched. He's across the goal line and into the end zone. It's a different Nebraska deal, you know. This is an offense with an experienced quarterback.
Following the review, the play has been confirmed. Touchdown.
The most impressive thing, Herbie, about the Nebraska offense, we knew they could run, but who knew that Taylor Martinez was going to come in here and hit 5 of his first 7 passes for 89 yards, throw into a blitz coverage, reading it perfectly, as you pointed out on that replay. 23 of 23 kicking extra points this year. Brett Maher, a junior from Kearney, Nebraska. What a weapon. We've got a timeout. 14-7 Nebraska. And now, Herbie, it's time for our conference update brought to you by Dr. Pepper. Take a look at the Big Ten and tell us what surprised you here today.
Illinois off to a 5-0 start. Got a little challenge today by Northwestern, but they're off to a 5-0 start, looking great. And Michigan State going to Columbus and taking care of Ohio State. And just to see the Ohio State offense, as much as they struggled today. Michigan State had 9 sacks. Ohio State's offensive line struggled. So Mark D'Antonio, former Ohio State assistant with Jim Tressel, goes into Columbus and gets a huge win for the Spartans.
So the Cornhuskers regain the lead, and they kick it away. And here's James White down at about the 22. And Herbie, let's take a look at Taylor Martinez's night so far.
Yeah, you talked about him going 5 for 7, but I just think it's the way they're attacking Wisconsin that's been a breath of fresh air. Here they cause a little bit of confusion, trips receivers to the field. Inside receiver is able to break free, Anunwa, and is able to make a big conversion there on 2nd and long. This is probably the most impressive thing. Play action, you're trying to bring the linebackers up. Your tight end is working Ben Cotton to the middle of the field, and the patience there showed by Taylor Martinez. Just outstanding understanding and execution right now by this Nebraska offense.
James White is the Badgers running back. And you have to wonder when Russell's going to find Nick Toon. Going deep for him right now, and Toon with a spectacular grab. So his first catch of the night, and the young man whose father was a legendary receiver here shows up with a big play.
And a good call there by Brent, wondering when it may happen, and he got the call, and Toon's able to make the play. Seontae Evans looks like he may be down. Boy, throws it into double coverage, and Toon is able to go up and somehow come down with the catch.
Toon is from right here in Middleton, nearby Madison, and he now is only 2 receptions behind his father in the all-time list here in Madison. Watch this catch.
Look at Seontae Evans dropping into coverage. I mean, it's double coverage, but the strength and the ability to go up and high point the ball, and the hands and focus and concentration. It's a huge gain.
Al and his mother are in the stands, and they must have appreciated that. 38 yards from Wilson to Nick Toon. And the Badgers will have a first down inside the 40-yard line. What a difference Russell Wilson makes, Herbie, with the passing attack here for the Badgers.
And it's not just his mobility, it's the way he can get the ball downfield with great accuracy. I mean, that was probably a poor decision throwing it into double coverage, but he put it in a position where Toon could go up and make a play on it.
Now here's White. He's an elusive runner. He's out of St. Thomas Aquinas in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Just to compare father and son, Herbie, you can see now that Nick is within 2, and he's also closing in on Pop's yardage mark here. And who knows, down the road he'll probably eclipse the touchdown. Now there is Al Toon, drafted in the 1st round by the New York Jets. He played 8 years for that team. He was a real good one. 2nd down and 7. Time, and back he goes to Abruderis. Abruderis' 3rd catch of the night. He's a sophomore from right here in the state of Wisconsin.
And Abruderis beating man-to-man coverage. He's able to get away, and that's something that Nebraska has always prided themselves on, as being physical. But Andrew Green, a young sophomore who has struggled at times in man-to-man coverage, Abruderis breaks clean easily to the inside. And again, the patience and poise of Russell Wilson on display.
Now, Russell Wilson's late father went to the last cut with the San Diego Charger, a man who tragically died at the age of 55. So Russell Wilson has athletic genes too. He's back again, and he'll take off. Headed for the end zone. Touchdown, Russell Wilson, and there is a flag thrown, so let's hold on. There's a flag back over in front of the Nebraska sideline after that 22-yard run, and this is going to be a holding call, and it's going to come on back. Do you suppose that Bo Pelini helped him call that play? Just maybe.
Boy, about to be another play to add to Russell Wilson's highlight film.
Offense, number 58. 10-yard penalty. First down.
That's the left tackle, Ricky Wagner.
Ricky Wagner matched up one-on-one with Cameron Meredith. Big physical defensive end from Nebraska. He's just matched up one-on-one. And, you know, what's interesting is you see the quarterbacks, he steps in. The acceleration and see the vision downfield. 58, Wagner's right there, clearly holds on to Meredith. But the recognition of the coverage downfield and then to have the speed to be able to make a defense pay for it, that's special. And that's what he brings. And all that experience that he played for North Carolina State and Tom O'Brien, it always comes into play here.
So it is now 1st and 20, and back he comes complete to Pedersen. The tight end with a beautiful grab at the 5-yard line. What a catchable ball Russell Wilson throws.
Great legacy of tight ends that have played here in Madison, and they feel that Pedersen can fit right in, matched up man-to-man, is able to break away from Thorell, and the ball is thrown exactly where Pedersen can go up and make a play on it.
Now it's the power I for the Badgers with a 1st and goal from the 4-yard line. And the tailback that time, I believe, was White. He at least has been on the field for that series.
Big Jared.
And he may come out, and they may come back in with the bigger running back, Monty Ball, who goes about 215 pounds. So number 28 comes in after the 195-pound White was taken down short of the end zone.
Jared Crick that time, Brent, making his presence being felt, got away and was able to create some penetration that time to get into the backfield.
Power look for Ball, driving, touchdown Badgers. An extra point away from tying the game again, and we will see Philip Welsh. Brad Nortman, the punter, will hold. Not a good one. And Crick was able to get in and deflect it. And remember the college game, this is a live ball. If they go the distance, it's worth 2, but they don't. So we'll check that replay, but on first look, it was big number 94, Jared Crick, who was able to get involved. So we'll come back and check it for you. But as a result, the Cornhuskers lead it by 1. So a blocked extra point here in the capital city of the state of Wisconsin is our difference. Nebraska leads at 14-13, and Alabama has gone ahead of Florida for the first time tonight, 17-10. Ball is on the tee now, and the Huskers will kick it off. There's the young man who scored the touchdown for the Badgers. From the 6-yard line, Abdullah looking to get daylight, and he's down at the 30-yard line.
Well, Brent, Kevin Zeitler again leading the way. The big right guard's going to come around, and the fullback also, Ewing, gets a good block. Watch 70 put Will Compton right on his back. Right there, his ball takes it in, and as you said, the difference in the game, it was Jared Crick fighting and pushing his way through, being able to knock that extra point away. We were kind of kidding there as they tried to return this. I think they got a little confused there with all that red and white.
Taylor Martinez, and he has shown us that he'll come up throwing out of this pistol formation. He's got trips to the left. They like to throw, but this time they're going to run the option toward the boundary. But there's a flag thrown, and again it's thrown on that far side in front of that Nebraska sideline.
Illegal formation. 5 in the backfield. 5-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
As we take a look at the Pacific Life game summary, are two-star quarterbacks that Herbie talked about at the beginning of the game, and here they are.
And they both have done a great job of just making great decisions. The numbers are obvious, but what you don't see is the way they've been able to execute and the very few mistakes either one of them has made up to this point.
Needing 15. Martinez, receivers covered. He's down at the 25, and it'll be second and long.
And that wasn't just good pressure up front. That was a coverage sack. The linebackers took away Kyler Reed, the tight end underneath. And eventually, you think about Taylor Martinez, he's going to take off. But by the time he decided to go, Wisconsin did a good job of not allowing him outside of the pocket. They forced him to step in, and then they were able to chase him down. That's perfect defense for Wisconsin on how they want to defend the athletic Martinez.
Big Bo Allen was right in the middle of that, the defensive lineman. And Martinez is going down again. And this is third and a bunch, and this is good defense. Cahoon, the other defensive tackle, he's a sophomore, as is Allen. So two youngsters getting some playing time, and they brought the lumber on those two plays.
Good coverage again downfield. Not an overly sophisticated passing attack. Most often, Nebraska tries to get the element of surprise in their passing game, but the last two dropbacks, the pocket just closed in on Taylor Martinez.
4 wide receivers on this third down. Badgers drop off and rush 3. Martinez will drop it underneath to give him just a little more room for the punter. Burkhead's first reception slipping out of the backfield. And now here comes the punter, and yes, it's Brett Maher. He does a little bit of everything. Number 96, the junior. Averaging 49 yards a punt. He's hit some 60-yarders this year. He must have loved punting out on Laramie last week. Robert Darris is back deep. Runs up on the ball and catches it as it goes out of bounds at about the 27-yard line. A close one in Madison, and you're watching Saturday Night Football on ABC. And now for tonight's Aflac trivia question. Who is the last Wisconsin quarterback to be named first team All Big Ten? I'm making Kirk Herbstreit a favorite to nail this one. Think about it, Herbie, and then we'll come back and tell everybody.
You know, what's crazy is Scott Tolzien last year had a great year, but Dan Perza ended up being first team All Big Ten out of Northwestern, even though he led the nation in passing efficiency.
So James White is back as the running back. Pedersen, an H-back look, switches over to the left side. They go unbalanced, and they'll bring White in that direction. And for an update, let's go to Robert Flores in our studio. Robert?
Well, Brent, you referenced the score in the Alabama-Florida game as the Tide visiting the Swamp for the first time since '06. Courtney Upshaw, get on in there, biggin. The interception and the pick six of John Brantley, and Alabama trailed early, but now they lead by 7. Notre Dame is blowing out Purdue 21-0 on ESPN.
Robert, he's a good bigot. He's one of the better linebackers in the SEC. Russell Wilson pulls back and puts it in Nick Toon's arms. And let's go down below to Aaron Andrews. Aaron?
Hey, Brian, after Wisconsin scored their last touchdown, Nebraska head coach Bo Pelini basically lit into a secondary, accusing them of dogging it and saying, if you don't start stepping up and playing hard, we have no chance in this game. You have to compete.
It's interesting, Aaron, that secondary's been challenged these first 4 or 5 weeks by Bo Pelini and Carl Pelini because a lot of new faces. Communication is the key, especially when you're playing on the road here in Madison for that young group.
Alfonso Dinner might be the best as the Badgers burn their first time out of the night. Nebraska burned a timeout a little bit early. There is Alfonso right there, but they've had trouble over at the other corner. Evans has been in most recently. Corey Cooper started against Wyoming last week. Austin Cassidy, one of the safeties, and Stafford is alongside him tonight. So it has been a work in progress, and we'll be right back. Brent Musburger with Kirk Herbstreit and Aaron Andrews. And if you're wondering about our score and you just joined us, that's a missed extra point, and Nebraska leads by 1. We've had 4 touchdowns scored. Monty Ball has scored both of the touchdowns for the Badgers. Wilson drops back in the gun. He's in trouble. Down at the 22, Levante David, number 4. Levante David, in case you don't know, was a high school teammate of Ja'Cory Harris's down at Northwestern in Miami. Went to JC, and here he is.
And they brought the house this time. Josh Williams, the defensive end, actually gets in there first, and that time they were able to corral Russell Wilson. He had nowhere to go. He might have tremendous quickness, but that time, a great job on defense on 3rd down by Nebraska.
So Nortman punts it away. And the catch at the 35 by Marlowe, and Marlowe returns it to the 47. So Herbie, here we come now. Who is the last Wisconsin quarterback to be named first team All Big Ten?
Well, like I said, it wasn't Tolzien, and I'm going to say Brooks Bollinger.
Well, a good guess,
but
not right.
Darrell
Bevell in 1993, the last Badger to be All Big Ten quarterback. He now is the offensive coordinator for Pete Carroll out in Seattle.
That's right. Wow.
First down and 10, and Martinez will give it to Burkhead, and he's swallowed for a loss of a yard. Mike Taylor is there defensively.
One of the few times we've seen Martinez on that zone read from the pistol get a read to hand it off to Burkhead, and when he hands it off, it should be a zone play by the offensive line, but nowhere to go that time. Good job of plugging the holes that time by the big defensive line by the Badgers.
And a great fake by Martinez. Comes back, and it's juggled at midfield by Ben Cotton, who couldn't quite get the handle. And it'll be 3rd and long for Martinez and the Cornhuskers.
One of the few times we've seen Martinez tonight out of rhythm and out of sync to a certain degree. He felt some pressure, and coming off of this play action fake, he feels the pressure. Watch his feet. He just doesn't quite get his feet settled, and it affects his accuracy as he throws the ball behind the big tight end.
Jamal Turner, the freshman sensation, is one of the 3 wides to the left. 3rd down and 11, and there's a penalty flag.
Ball start, 25, offense.
Kyler Reed.
Remains 3rd down.
And you could talk about trying to put crowd noise in at practice or do whatever you want to do, but when you go on the road, it's a different set of concentration for the entire offense. You got to be locked in, and you cannot not afford to make any kind of mental errors to affect any kind of continuity or chance you have as an offense.
That's 5 penalties against Nebraska and only 2 against Wisconsin. That has been one of Pelini's problems so far this season. Pocket is clean. Martinez moves it and throws an interception. At the 48-yard line, Mike Taylor makes the pick. And the Badgers get it back, and Bo is not happy about that decision.
Now, this is where you'd like to think Taylor Martinez would grow. You cannot self-destruct on the road. Taylor shows blitz, and then it's going to drop into coverage. And I don't think Taylor Martinez ever saw him. He looks to the left. Once he gets outside, he tries to go back inside to Kyler Reed. Miscommunication, throws the ball right into the waiting arms of Mike Taylor. And even if he did not see Taylor, I don't think Reed was open downfield anyway.
Ball is the running back behind Russell Wilson as the Badgers get it back near midfield. Play action. Wilson looking back to the left. Now tries to scramble out of trouble, get back toward the line of scrimmage, and he will chuck it down. And a diving effort by Pedersen. So Russell Wilson makes like Fran Tarkenton.
I mean, I know he's a tremendous athlete, plays baseball. This is backyard football. I mean, he's going to run around. You're thinking maybe he'll just go down. But no, he wants to still try to throw the ball. I'm shocked there aren't any offensive linemen downfield. Just kind of tosses it downfield, all that work, and he picks up 5 or 6 yards to his tight end.
So a manageable second down as a result of that. Moving the pocket to the right. And he'll throw this one away. Aberderis was running down the sideline, but he was well covered. So whatever Bo Pelini said to his defensive backs, it was working on that play. They were all over Aberderis.
Wisconsin's best chance of executing in the passing game is off play action, when they are able to complement their passing game with the running game. Run the football with White and Ball allows you to get back to play action to try to get that young defense out of position.
3rd and 5. Wilson runs the slant to Tune and picks up the first down. Another fine throw.
And there's the accuracy between Russell Wilson and his new favorite target in Madison, Nick Tune. Paul Chryst telling us this week, Brent, that Nick Tune has got to win on 3rd down. He's our go-to guy. He's got to come up big on 3rd down for us. Now that he's healthy, he fought through a lot of injuries last year with a turf toe and thigh bruise. That time he got to the inside and gave his quarterback a chance to make the throw.
Badgers have 3.5 minutes here. Running play takes it to the 37, where Stafford makes the stop for the Huskers. So Ball here in the first half has carried 11 times for 49 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Plenty of time for the Badgers to kind of stick with their identity where they run the football and get Russell Wilson back there off of the play action. Plenty of time now at 3 minutes and still a couple timeouts deep into Nebraska territory and moving here.
Behind Pedersen and nothing doing. Huskers read that play beautifully. And Levante David, who has 2 sacks already tonight, now comes up with another tackle. Started to tell you that he played with Ja'Cory Harris. Didn't have the grades to get into a university right away. Went the JC route and then signed on with Nebraska. But what a high school team he played with down in Miami. That Northwestern High team was one of the best they've had in South Florida in a long time. 3rd down and 3. Beautiful fake toss. Wilson stands up. Got a man open. Aberderis diving catch. Touchdown. What a play fake by Russell Wilson. They will not go for 2. They're going to work on the extra point effort here. Welsh will come back in. He was a little low on the last one, and Jared Crick. They will take a peek at this upstairs.
Brett, this is part of that inexperience of Nebraska's secondary. Damian Stafford is right here. He's a safety. He's actually looking in at Pedersen. When the action goes this way and comes back, watch how Stafford gets lost. Little bit confused and just kind of sinks right there. Look how quick Aberderis gets behind him and out of position, and the ball is perfectly thrown, and a good job of reaching out by Aberderis to get up and make the catch. We'll see real close if his knee may be touched. But Stafford again out of position there off of the play action fake. He didn't use his eyes and trust his eyes on that play. They'll probably call him down. It'll be close. It'll be very, very close. It's a matter of where the ball is when his knee touches.
So nothing that Dick Honig saw could cause him to turn that touchdown over. And Abruderis has put the Badgers back into the lead. And here is Philip Welch, the senior from Fort Collins, Colorado. This time, plenty of altitude. 20-14, Badgers up by 6. Teacher and students. And on that pass play, the Badgers crossed hard from left to right, and they simply lost the man.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And we heard all week this week from Nebraska's coaches, Bo Pelini and Carl Pelini, about technique and trusting your eyes and reading your keys. And with an inexperienced group, that's much easier said than done. And you get out here and you start to see the game, and it starts to move fast. And it makes it a little bit tougher than looking at it on a Tuesday or Wednesday in practice. That time, clearly, they were lost in coverage.
Marlowe and Abdullah are back deep for Nebraska. This is Abdullah. Runs into trouble down at the 24. What a reminder that Sunday NFL Countdown presented by IBM on ESPN at 10 a.m. Eastern. Chris Berman and the gang, they'll talk about the soul of Detroit, how the Lions are putting the motor back in a Motor City. And Green Bay, one of the league's 3 undefeated teams, just up the road. They host a Bronco team coming off another tough loss. They'll cover all the stories. You'll fill out your fantasy lineup, your survivor pools, and on we'll go.
Lions for real?
I think they must be, and you know who's right at the heart of it.
Oh, yeah.
A boy named Sue. Johnny Cash would love that football team. Incomplete and low on first down. They done run the target.
He got 2 minutes to go, a little under 2 minutes and a couple timeouts. Taylor Martinez, his last series, the interception. Just the first time we saw him a little bit out of sync. We'll see if he's able to adjust back now where they're expecting the pass, and Wisconsin is pinning their ears back and trying to come after him.
Martinez and the Huskers would love to get Turner deep sometime. Goes high, caught, shakes a tackle. Still on his feet is Jamal Turner. So there's the young man we talked about, who's the ex-quarterback. And I think you saw from that play, Herbie, why they moved him to wide receiver. He took a lick and hung right on.
Southward is down, but Brent, you're right. He is a quarterback, and he's still learning how to play the position. What I loved here at the end of his route, watch how he settles down. This route was supposed to continue to the sideline, but he kind of settles the route down and gives the quarterback, Martinez, a chance to put the ball where he can make a play on it. If he would have thrown that closer to the boundary, the defender easily, Southward, makes a play on it. But he settled his route down, which is great to see. This guy's still literally learning route by route how to play wide receiver.
So the Huskers are up near midfield with 1:45 and 2 timeouts. Martinez is flushed and throws underneath, complete, and that's Kinney. Brandon Kinney makes his second catch of the evening here.
Martinez always seems to have an internal clock, and when he gets to about 3 seconds, even if he doesn't necessarily have pressure, he starts to want to bail. He starts to want to get out of there. That time he didn't necessarily have a lot of pressure, but that clock went to about 3-4 seconds. He started to get out of there, and that time fortunate to find Kinney over there by himself where he was able to get out of bounds.
As a result, the clock is stopped, Herbie, when he stepped out of bounds with 1:34. Martinez going deep and incomplete. Kinney again the intended target. Kinney tends to be more of a possession receiver, and when they want to go downfield, they're going to look for that freshman from Arlington, Texas, Jamal Turner.
Kenny Bell, another freshman from Boulder, Colorado, has also proven this year to be a deep threat. Number 80, who's down at the bottom. He and Turner bring a little bit more explosiveness to this wide receiving crew.
Let's see if Martinez goes in that direction. He's looking at the two of them. Comes high for Turner, intercepted. picked off at the 27 by Aaron Henry, and Martinez overthrew his target that time, and Henry was sitting right there for the interception, and Bo Pelini is not happy.
Brent, this is called, again, predetermining where you want to go with the football. Receiver's going to go here, another receiver's going to go here. You're reading this man right here. If you're Taylor Martinez, you're watching this corner. Watch the corner. Notice how his shoulders are turned and he's sinking. It's going to be tough to get the ball thrown into this window. Once he tries to throw it, the corner sinks and the safety's able to come over. Not only a poor decision, a poorly thrown ball and a big interception for Wisconsin.
And on their last 2 third downs, Martinez has thrown interceptions. So Russell Wilson comes back, drops it off underneath to James White, who is out of bounds at the 45. And we go to Robert Flores for an update. Robert?
All right, Brett, back to the swamp where Alabama's pouring it on Florida right now. A.J. McCarron from the 1. They lead 24-10 inside of a minute, first half.
And it doesn't get any easier for the Gators. They've got to play LSU next. And if LSU isn't number 1, they're number 2 right behind Bama and Oklahoma. Those 3 teams are battling it out. Wilson comes back underneath, incomplete. And it'll be 3rd down. So there's so much going on that you certainly want to catch up on the Northwestern Mutual halftime report. John Anderson's in the studio tonight with Jesse Palmer. They'll have all the day's big highlights. And I must say, while I've got a moment, and he's probably listening, we send along our best wishes to Big John Saunders and hope he gets well soon. We miss him on a Saturday night. We've got a minute to go here. 3rd and 2 in the first half. Wilson, inside shovel pass. First down to the 45-yard line. James White.
Well, great call here. They knew that it was going to be pressure. There's the blitz, there's man-to-man. Nobody picks up James White because the linebacker, Stafford, who was going to be coming on the blitz, it's his responsibility there to pick up the back. The back, White, looked like he was blocking and that the quarterback was rolling out. Then they just dropped it underneath to him. Well designed.
From the gun, Wilson moves to the right, buys time and throws it away, kills the clock. The one thing you see right away with Russell Wilson, this is a young man who understands how to play the game. He knows what he's doing, as Bo Pelini is upset that some holding calls are not being made against this big offensive line.
His freshman year at North Carolina State, he threw 17 touchdowns and only 1 interception on the whole year. He's off to a great start this year after transferring over from Raleigh. This year only 1 interception. So again, he's got the physical abilities, but the experience that allows him to very rarely are you going to see him make very many mistakes throwing the ball into coverage.
He threw 76 touchdown passes with the Wolfpack. Monty Ball slips out of the backfield. Russell wants to go downfield, and he's got Toon. Touchdown, Wisconsin. Nick Toon broke free, and Russell Wilson patiently waited and threw it right where his wide receiver could catch it. What a pitch and catch. Welsh tacks on another extra point. 27-14.
Boy, Brandon really starting to pick on this inexperienced secondary. What a move. He gives him a little outside and then goes to the post. Deontay Evans is here. Stafford is here. Take a look and watch how he sets this up. He gets separation, gets downfield, gives a little move to the outside, which moved the safety outside. So he beats Deontay Evans off the line of scrimmage. And man-to-man, little move to the outside, positions himself perfectly to go back to the middle. And I'll tell you what you couldn't see there. The ball was thrown in the air before he made that little cut to the outside to get the safety off to the outside, and then he came back in and the ball was already in the air.
As Russell Wilson celebrates the fact that the Badgers have converted both interceptions into touchdowns. They lead it 27-14. And Evans is now getting a learning moment on that sideline. So the difference in the game, points off turnovers. The last 2 third downs, Martinez has coughed up interceptions. Werner kicks it off. And a little pushing and shoving after the return. And as a reminder, it's being called one of the best news shows of the season at America's new Sunday Addiction. The sky's the limit for the globe-trotting adventures of ABC's Pan Am.
I gave that a whirl last week. It's good. Good show.
As someone who rode Pan Am stock to zero, I may not watch it for a while. But let me know if it's still good. I'll check it out. First down and 10 now. And Martinez is having trouble with the passing game.
Well, the way the last few series have gone, and I know they have decent field position. Maybe you take one more shot here to try to get downfield. But this thing is starting to get a little bit out of control here with Taylor Martinez. Just his body language these last few series, completely different guy from the guy we saw in the beginning of this first half.
Well, if they can get close, Maher has 50-yard range. He's the field goal kicker for Nebraska. There's a penalty flag. Did they run out the clock?
Rodriguez moved.
63, offense, 5-yard penalty.
Starting to unravel here.
Very sloppy down the stretch in the first half. .23 seconds remaining. 3-man rush and Martinez takes off. And he is thrown backwards. Mike Taylor, Chris Borland and the gang are there to cut him off.
These linebackers really can move. Chris Borland fought through the injury last year. We had surgery to his left bicep, and boy, Mike Taylor had the ACL back in '09. These guys now are healthy. It gives them a completely different look to the interior of that defense.
Herbie, it has been a very disappointing second quarter for Nebraska, and I'm sure Bo Pelini is going to give him an earful here at halftime. This is rough.
Yeah, I mean, and especially considering the way the game was going. I mean, it looked like both of these offense were executing and really just, I think, in control of things and felt very confident with their plan. And then it just goes to show you just miscues, the penalties, moving back to 1st and 15, the turnovers where Martinez seemed to be in complete command, and then he turned it over the last few times, and Wisconsin's been able to benefit and turn those into points. So that's the difference in the game right now, and that's the challenge of being on the road in the Big Ten or any other of the premier conferences out there.
Now let me say one other thing. Russell Wilson is as good as advertised. He knows how to manage the game, throws beautifully, and he has that escapability going for him too. So he has been a delight watching him in person here for the first time, quarterback this Badger team. And now Martinez down the middle, complete, and there he could be in field goal business. That is Turner again with 8 seconds. And remember, I told you that their field goal kicker has 50-yard distance, and I think the sideline is signaling throw it down and stop the clock. They've got 8 seconds to go. Nebraska will take a timeout. They had 2, and there is the young man. He's from Kearney, and he is a real good kicker. 8 of 9 overall this season. 1 of 2 from 50-plus yards. So Maher can move them to within 10. And that extra point looms large now that the Badgers missed if the Huskers can pick it up offensively in the second half.
That's a big throw there by Martinez. We were just talking about this thing unraveling, some miscues, the interceptions, the false starts. Then they take the shot down, and now they give themselves a chance here, as you said, to cut it to 10.
This is just a little bit over 50 yards. They're going to put it down just shy of the 41-yard line. The line judge calls timeout. The Badgers want a timeout.
Timeout. Wisconsin.
This is old Brett Bielema over there on the
Timeout.
sideline saying, wait. Timeout now.
He still
He's
has
got one more, too.
This could be the deep freeze. When you look back, Herbie, at the season so far and the matchup of top 10 teams, it has been a great start to this year.
Yeah, our first night in Dallas, where LSU showed that they were willing to take on the speed of the Ducks, and Jarrett Lee played well and got him a big win. The next week we were down in Tallahassee, and #1 Oklahoma took the best shot from the Seminoles and lived to tell about it. And then Oklahoma State and Texas A&M and Nebraska and Wisconsin tonight. There have been some great matchups here. You're right, in September. It's been great. Now we're starting it here in October with a good game.
Austin Cassidy will put it down. P.J. Mangieri will try to put it right in his hands. Maher bangs it with that powerful leg. No good. So he takes a crack at a 50-yarder and can't make it with 3 seconds remaining here in the first half. A second quarter to forget if you're Bo Pelini and the Nebraska Cornhuskers.
And don't forget, Wisconsin won the toss, elected to receive the ball, so Nebraska will start the second half with the football.
That is what Russell Wilson has accomplished the first half of this season. Not a single interception. He's like a coach on the field, we were told. And he sure showed that here tonight. So it's 27-14. Now let's send it to the studio. John Anderson and Jesse Palmer. Here's your Northwestern Mutual halftime report. Take it away, John. A busy Saturday.
Halftime at Camp Randall, and a party mood is prevailing. Badgers up by 13. The folks chanting, "Where is Lee Corso?" Desmond Howard for his Nebraska prediction. Elvis has left the building, but all is not lost for the Cornhuskers. But Bo Pelini was livid at his defense in the first half. So Matt, he wouldn't talk to Aaron leaving the field. What has to change?
Well, I think he has to get pressure on Russell Wilson. They're not getting consistent pressure on Russell Wilson in their front seven. And when they do, Russell Wilson is too elusive for their defensive tackles and their ends. So he's able to extend plays and look for his receivers down the field. Quarterback Russell Wilson would much rather do figure eights behind the line of scrimmage and look down the field for receivers than across the line of scrimmage and then be committed to running the ball.
He still remains frighteningly efficient, 233 yards passing. Now, do you agree with Jesse Palmer? Nebraska, when they get the ball here to begin the third quarter, has to run it rather than throw it so much?
Yeah, I think that's their bread and butter. Let's face it. They want to run the ball. They have to commit to running the ball. In the first half, Nebraska passed the ball 17 times. Wisconsin only 16 times. Nebraska needs to get to their bread and butter and run the ball.
A lot of work to do to make this a happy debut. More after these messages, and we're from ABC stations. The second half is coming up.
So 20 unanswered points by Wisconsin, and they lead Nebraska 27-14 as we take a look at tonight's Southwest Airlines playbook, Herbie.
Well, Nebraska early looked like they were taking control of this game. They jumped out to a 14-7 lead. They were running the football, controlling things in the trenches. And then Russell Wilson really started to settle down and make some big plays. And they've been able to really take advantage of some turnovers. You mentioned the 20 unanswered. Russell Wilson had a lot to do with that, attacking through the air when they had their chances. And now they put themselves up by 13. Nebraska gets the ball here to start this second half. And I think it's pretty obvious. You go back to the first two drives when they went down the field and scored. They did what they normally would do, which is running the football and setting up play action pass off of that.
Yeah, when they got into trouble, it was those 2 third-down interceptions, and the Badgers converted both into touchdowns. So Marlowe and Abdullah are back deep for the Cornhuskers. They have the first possession of the second half. Abdullah is coming out from the 1-yard line. Breaks free. Out to the 39-yard line. Excellent field position as we take a look at the Pacific Life game summary and note how costly the turnovers have been on the part of our two quarterbacks here.
Yeah, Taylor Martinez, the 2 interceptions that led to points, and Russell Wilson up to this point has been flawless. 12 of 16, 233 yards through the air. That's just one half of football. We'll see what Nebraska's defense tries to do here to make adjustments to slow down Wilson here in the second half. But this drive, very big for Nebraska.
They roll Martinez out on first down. He throws an interception. So they open up with the passing game, and Martinez throws his third interception. Fanelis, Antonio Fanelis is there. He's probably the best corner on the Badger team.
Just an interesting call by Bo Pelini in Nebraska to start this second half. We just talked about the strength of this team is still the running of Martinez and Burkhead, maybe trying to catch Wisconsin off guard. Receiver falls down, but really that ball is thrown behind the receiver, and Fanelis, the experience that he has, he steps in and makes the interception. That's the third turnover now in the last 12 plays for Nebraska.
And remember, the Badgers have converted the last 2 interceptions into 14 points. And here they come with ball, opening up with a 9-yard burst as we check in down below with Aaron Andrews.
Well, Brent, Bo Pelini couldn't outrun me in the tunnel there as I was waiting for him after the halftime. He just basically said, we need guys to start executing here on the defense, particularly the secondary. They're just not doing what we're asking them to do. And also for the offense, guys, he just says we have to get back on schedule, knock it off with the penalties.
Well, so here's Russell Wilson again on second down with the ball across the Nebraska 35-yard line. Ball to daylight. He's got another first down at the 21-yard line as he broke free to the right side, forcing a defensive back to make the stop.
Watch this wall, and the play is designed here, and it comes back. Great vision, and it shows you the importance of the blocks on the backside. The big tight end that time, Jake Byrne, did a good job of sealing that off on the backside, which allowed Ball to come back and make a play.
And Wilson right back with the power running game, and Monty Ball. Stafford making the stop.
Brent, Monty Ball runs the football hard. I mean, he is a tough, physical runner. He and James White really complement each other. Comes out of the game, and now the quickness of White checks back in. And behind that offensive line and what Russell Wilson can do, boy, this is a good-looking Wisconsin offense.
Ball for the night, Herbie, has rushed for 76 yards. White only 5 and 4 carries. So Ball has carried the load tonight. And here's the quickness of White. He'll now get the carry, and he shakes a tackle, but he's down at the 15-yard line. As you look at Russell Wilson coming here after being made basically a free agent by North Carolina State. Consider this youngster was a 4th-round draft choice by the Colorado Rockies. They have him at second base, and they experimented with his batting stance throughout the summer. His numbers are not great as a hitter, but believe me, the Rockies still think the world of him as a second baseman. He's not going to have to return that bonus, and we'll see about the decision he makes. As you watch him play quarterback, you think about Drew Brees. There he is pitching it out to James White, and White gets close to a first down before Meredith makes a stop.
Well, he has the instincts of a middle infielder. I don't know what they're doing to his batting stance, but all I know is he's a tremendous athlete, and his awareness on the field and poise and leadership, I think that's what makes him the player that he is. And to anybody who can walk onto any campus in the country, and after 4 or 5 weeks, you're unanimously voted a team captain, I think that shows you a lot about the character and what his teammates, his new teammates think of him.
Badgers are not going for a field goal. On 4th and 1, they bring Ball in, and Nebraska burns its first timeout here in the second half.
First team timeout.
So Brett Bielema trying to drop the hammer here early in the third quarter. 20 unanswered so far for the man who replaced Barry Alvarez. A lot of questions around Madison about what he would do, what kind of a coach he'd be. He's answering all the questions the last few years. 11:53 left in the third quarter. 4th and 1, and the Badgers will have none of that field goal business here. They're going for the first down. They're going for the juggler early here in the second half. Got it.
Just challenged them right up the middle. You almost knew what was coming, and still Nebraska's defense not able to stop them. And that battle up front, Kahns, who's one of the top centers in the country, going up against Steinkuhler and Jared Crick in the middle. Those double teams are working, and a lot of times they're getting a good push here. And as more of this game goes on, the more that battle up front becomes important for Wisconsin.
On a play action, Russell Wilson's rolling 5, end zone. Touchdown, Badgers. He may be short in stature, but he's got everything else. And NFL scouts who put him down is not being tall enough. They better take a second look at this youngster. That's P.J. Smith.
He's talking to P.J. Smith because he lost contain. And there's that different dimension that Russell Wilson brings to this offense.
So Martinez has thrown 3 interceptions, and the Badgers have turned all 3 into touchdowns. So we are back in Madison, Nebraska's first Big Ten Conference game. And it has taken a sour turn here for the Cornhuskers. 3 interceptions, and all 3 turned into touchdowns as Russell Wilson dances in for the last one. Marlowe and Abdullah are back deep. Lerner kicks it away. He's had trouble kicking the ball out of bounds from time to time. Picked up by Abdullah, coming down the near sideline to the 40-yard line. Herbie, let's go back to that last score.
Well, 1st and 10, ball's at the 10-yard line. Nebraska has 10 guys up close to the line of scrimmage. Great play action call on 1st and 10. P.J. Smith has contained. That's why Bo Pelini was so upset with him. Lost his focus, came down, collapsed down, and there's the speed and quickness once again of Russell Wilson. And love the call by Paul Christ. And Bo Pelini lets P.J. Smith know that made the mistake there on not keeping contained.
Now they go back to the option, and Burkhead got no more than a yard. Nizegwu, the defensive end, would not give him the corner. Everybody wanted Nebraska to come out running. They've rushed for only 61 yards here tonight. The defensive ends have done a good job here for the Badgers. They'll try the toss play to Burkhead. That's not going anyplace. He made the most of it.
One of the few mistakes we've seen from the Badgers here for about the last quarter and a half or two. And Nebraska needed anything to try to spark this offense, and maybe this 15-yard penalty will help them. Oh, they're going to call. Wow, thought it might be a little bit of a push, a little extra push, but it's the holding call.
Holding, offense, number 81.
Just what they need.
10 yards, previous spot. Repeat, second down.
That's Ben Cotton, one of the tight ends who was guilty. There's your last 5 drives by the Cornhuskers. The punt, 2 interceptions, which were turned into touchdowns. Then they missed the 50-yard field goal at the end of the half. And now an interception to start the second half, and the Badgers convert that too. 2nd down and 18. Jarred loose on the hit. Jamal Turner.
Yes.
With Southward over there, and he delivered the blow.
Southward makes a great read on this play and actually gets in there to be able to separate the young freshman from the football. One of the few good reads we've seen, and a good throw by Martinez. He puts the ball where the young freshman has a chance, but you could almost feel Turner looking over his shoulder, waiting for that impact. It may have affected his concentration on the football.
The Sharks are circling in the Badgers secondary. Martinez will take off, and this will bring about a Nebraska punt. Buttram made the stop defensively.
This defense right now is playing with a lot of confidence, and when you create turnovers and your offense turns them into points, there's time they rushed 3 and they dropped 8 back into coverage. Nowhere to go with the football. And again, they chased down Taylor Martinez.
Here's Maher. Now Bruderis is back deep.
Timeout. Wisconsin. First team timeout.
So now the return team, as the return team comes to the sideline, and we're going to send you to Robert Flores for an update. Robert? Yeah, and they melted down against Oklahoma State, Robert, last week. They can't wait for that SEC game against Vanderbilt. So here we are now, back to punt. Fair catch is signaled for and made at the 18-yard line. The Badgers look like they could have an argument to be number 1 tonight. The Coaches Trophy, presented by Dr. Pepper Herbie, and that'll be awarded at the 2012 All-State BCS Championship game in New Orleans. A lot of fans here in Madison have asked me about the possibility of the Badgers getting into that game. Tell me about that.
Well, they're going to need some help. I mean, the perception nationally of the Big Ten is it's not the most dominant conference out there. So you need Oklahoma, you need LSU, you need Alabama, you need Stanford to all lose to have a chance, I think, to get up there.
So here comes the running game of the Badgers. Herbie, it is remarkable as we take a look at Russell Wilson and what he means as offense.
Well, again, we knew coming in the difference that he made in this offense because of his athletic ability, but I think what people may be learning to appreciate is his ability to drive the ball downfield with accuracy. You can see the poise that he has in the pocket. He really doesn't strain when he makes a throw. I mean, it looks like he's in the hole making a throw at shortstop or, making a play at second base. Gets back there, throws the ball, and the timing that he has with this new group of receivers is something that I really appreciate myself.
Rolling to the right and firing to a wide open receiver, and Nick Toon that time did not hold on. When you go back to Russell Wilson and you talk about him, Brett Bielema told us they never recruited as hard in his life for one player as he did Russell Wilson. He said, I really don't follow baseball, but every morning I would get up, look at the box score. And if he'd get a couple of hits, I'd send him an email, which was legal, congratulating him. If he'd go 0 for 4, I'd say, just keep your head up and keep on coming. There'll be another game. So Brett Bielema really put the full court press on Russell Wilson, and I think we can see why here tonight. There he is under pressure, dropping it off underneath to Pedersen, his tight end.
And a great time to call this third down. And if you study Nebraska, you know that that's when they're going to bring a lot of pressure. And they bring one more than you can handle. The defensive end, Meredith, is able to come free. The danger in that is what can happen if you don't make it to the quarterback. And how about the poise again? He knows where the outlet is. He gets the ball thrown. And Pedersen, who is a tremendous athlete, gets upfield in a hurry.
First down and 10. Russell Wilson and the Badgers trying to move it down the field again. Ball bursts to the 44-yard line. And when Russell Wilson made his visit to Madison, guess who met him at the airport? That's right, Coach Bielema. Put him alongside. Didn't take the short route to the stadium and the campus. No, sir. He drove right down the heart of town, that beautiful street that looks at the Capitol in downtown Madison. He knew how to impress this young man. Second down and 3. What a great running game, but that time Monty Ball couldn't do it. Austin Cassidy, the veteran safety, up.
Well, this is where Wisconsin, when they have you up, by 20 points, they can really try to take your will away. And they have this combination of being able to convert on third down with Russell Wilson and also still leaning on you. That's the thing, you get so caught up in Russell Wilson, you forget that those offensive linemen are still double teaming Crick and Steinkuhler and working up to those linebackers. And it's not very often you see a Nebraska defensive line start to get a little weary in the second half against a big offensive line like this.
Timeout. Clock was down to 1 second. There's the awareness of the quarterback again.
Second team timeout.
Did not want to take the 5-yard penalty. Trying to get the offense set. So a reminder again on Monday night, Herbie. It'll be Indianapolis and Tampa Bay. Talk to me about the improvement of Josh Freeman and the way he's matured as a leader in the NFL.
Well, you know, he came out of Kansas State and he didn't have quite the fanfare that we saw with some of the other quarterbacks, but he's really settled in. And in fact, he settled in pretty early in his career. And who would have thought when they had this game scheduled for Monday night that the Buccaneers are the team to beat on Monday night against the Indianapolis Colts?
So the offense is back for this third down, trying to keep this drive going. So we'll watch that offensive line that Herbie talked about go to work here. There's your first down, body ball. Now, we've talked about what a day this is and a weekend in Wisconsin. How about the Milwaukee Brewers, the smallest team in Major League Baseball? They defeated Arizona earlier today, 4-1, first game of the playoffs. Here tonight, the Badgers are taking care of business, and tomorrow up in Green Bay, the Packers a big favorite over Denver. So if you're a Wisconsin sports fan, this has got to be one of the greatest weekends ever.
You think Prince Fielder will stick around after this great year by the Brewers?
I don't know.
A lot of people think he may go to the Cubs, but after this year, he should stick around.
James White.
They'll pay him.
Here comes the end around. Abradaris to daylight. And he is down just shy of the 35-yard line.
Still attacking, still trying to come up with plays. Love the call here. And again, you get so focused on the running game and what Russell Wilson might do. You got to be aware that Abradaris has the quickness and speed in the open field to be able to make a play. And look at the linemen downfield. Cons is downfield trying to help out. Frederick is downfield. Just a good job by these linemen of executing when it comes to blocking downfield along with the receivers.
So the offensive coordinator is Paul Christ as White gets the handoff. And here's a story about Christ. When he was checking in on Russell Wilson, he had a friend in the North Carolina State locker room. That's right. The trainer back there actually played football for Paul's daddy here in Wisconsin. And that young man told the offensive coordinator at Wisconsin, you could not be getting a better person or quarterback than Russell Wilson. Paul Christ said, that's all I needed to hear. And he, too, wanted to have Russell in this offense. And the combination of one of the best offensive coordinators in the Big Ten and this quarterback, you got your hands full when you deal with this offense, ladies and gentlemen. There's Wilson on that play fake again, firing and diving, incomplete.
The other story about Paul Christ is he was offered about $1 million to be the offensive coordinator down in Texas and really considered leaving. But when it came down to it, I think he really loved the culture here in Madison that Barry Alvarez created, and now Brett Bielema continues to do such a good job of even trying to take it to that next level. So Paul Christ, as you said, recognized as one of the top play callers and offensive coordinators. They just have a great fit here. They don't worry about 5-star recruits and chasing down, you know, some kind of list. They try to find guys that fit their system and their culture. And I think Paul Christ really loves what they have here, and that had a lot to do with why he stuck around.
You saw Barry Alvarez up in his box watching this game.
Previous play is under review. The ruling on the field was an incomplete pass.
He's such a comfort zone for all the coaches of all the sports, because here's a guy who's been in the field of battle himself. He's not just a businessman. He knows what it's like to coach a team, be it basketball with Bo Ryan here or Brett Bielema as the football coach. And he was a sensational head coach here at Madison.
See if he gets his hands underneath this. What? Whoa.
It's on the ground. It's on the ground.
His hands
close.
Initially got under, and then the ball touched the turf. Bo Ryan just talk about a guy who doesn't worry about recruiting off of a list. Bo Ryan, you do a lot of his games. I mean, he is one of the best in the business, one of the most consistent programs in the country.
You're exactly right, Herbie. The other thing they've got here, tremendous hockey program.
Yep.
So Barry Alvarez, in case you didn't know, once was a linebacker for Nebraska. Played for Bob Devaney back in the mid-'60s. Devaney had moved to Lincoln. And watch as here is the athletic director at Wisconsin intercepting a pass against the Badgers back in the mid-'60s.
Following the review, the play stands as called. Incomplete pass.
So Alvarez probably made his mark as a coach when he was the defensive coordinator under Lou Holtz. Now, how would you like to be the defensive coordinator for Coach Holtz? You'd learn a lot, wouldn't you? The doctor is in the office. He'd like to talk to you about those 2 touchdowns your defense gave up last week.
Well, the great thing is when he was in South Bend, they didn't give up very many touchdowns.
3rd down. No, it was a heck of a defense. And Alvarez then became the head coach here at Wisconsin, and he said he wanted to pattern the program like that in Lincoln. Close the borders of the state, get the state to rally around the team, and the rest is history. And Wilson will get the 1st down and more out of bounds at the 14-yard line. Cannot tell you, Herbie, how impressed I am watching this young man manage a football game.
Well, he leads the nation in converting on scrambles on 3rd and 5 and plus. And this is another one. See Dennard in man-to-man coverage there with Toon. He stayed with him. And instead of having the awareness to be able to turn back and look to see, right there, you've got to get off of your receiver and be able to come down. But he followed Toon back to the middle of the field. Made it very easy for Russell Wilson to pick up more yards.
He's passed for 249 and rushed for another 33 here tonight. He's passed for 2 touchdowns and he's run for a 3rd. You talk about a great night, and one that is spoiling Nebraska's entrance into the Big Ten Conference.
I think he's proving that he's just such a compliment. I know we're talking a lot about Russell Wilson, but I think it's the compliment that Monty Ball, who's close to 100 yards on a night, the big offensive line. It's just there's so much for any defense, not just Nebraska, but any defense to have to prepare for because of the balance and the versatility. You got to stop the running game first and then work to trying to be able to contain Russell Wilson. But that's much easier said than done. That's a tough thing to do.
Well, the Badgers are clearly stamping themselves as the favorite to win the Leaders Division. They're in the opposite division from the Cornhuskers. The Cornhuskers are in the Legends Division as the Big Ten for the first time split into 2 divisions, and they'll have a championship game this year. Now, here are the 2 divisions. Let me give you a little key. In the Legends, think M and N. M and N. That'll lead you to it. Iowa, of course, a regional team. But there's your Leaders Division on the other side, and don't rule out Illinois. That's a team that has really stepped up this year.
Yeah, up to 5-0, and you look at the leaders, you try to, outside of Illinois, you have, of course, Wisconsin, but this is going to be an interesting race on both sides. But the Badgers at this point I think it's clearly that they are the team to beat the entire Big Ten.
Underneath, but another 1st down. It's now 1st and goal. Meredith was closing in, but he couldn't get there in time. The release is beautiful.
Well, he just is able to feel the pressure. Meredith comes clean, but he's able to see that. I mean, and that's the experience and the feel. And I got to go back to it. It's one thing to recognize that as a quarterback, but to be able to have receivers that are kind of in sync with you and know when you're trying to get rid of the football. He and Aberderis have shown that all night tonight.
Monty Ball has already scored 2 touchdowns. He gets a chance for a 3rd, and he'll be stopped. No, breaks away. He's got it. How about that run? Looked like he was stopped, slipped free. Touchdown number 3 for Monty Ball. So the Badgers, 14 plays, 81 yards. And it's a tough night for the Pelini brothers. Welsh tacks on the extra point.
Brent, it's actually defended pretty well. Nebraska did about all they could do to be able to hold up against Zeitler pulling around, Ewing with a kick-out block, Pedersen's there pulling around. They're there. It's just a matter of now you got to tackle Monty Ball. I mean, 14 plays, some running, some scrambling, some passing. Now you're there to make the play, and he just runs through 2 or 3 arm tackles.
This is a perfect situation for the Badgers. Ohio State has had all kinds of problems this year. Penn State is experiencing difficulty offensively. As you look down the road at the schedule, they were a huge favorite to wind up in the Big Ten championship game, Herbie.
The challenge you think they might have is being able to garner enough respect because of who they might be playing. When LSU and Alabama and all these other teams that are up high, even Oklahoma, are going to be playing some big high-profile games, who is going to be on their schedule to be able to help them even if they run the table? So if you have teams unbeaten at the end of the year, that's where they could be on the outside looking in, and that's when they would need to help.
Let me point out the Rose Bowl is not a bad place to wind up.
Oh, yeah, you're preaching to the choir there. I'm with you.
Some of the Rose Bowl representatives are on hand here tonight, and I'm sure that they're very impressed with what they see with this Badger team. And of course, tomorrow we switch to the Sunday Players NFL Countdown, presented by IBM on ESPN at 10 a.m. Eastern. And I dare say that Chris Carter, who's on that panel, he's probably shaking his head about what's happened to the Buckeyes, just like you, Herbie.
Yeah, you watch that game today, and I think about anybody, whether you're an Ohio State fan or not. When you're watching a game and you're wondering, have they given up more sacks than they have first downs? And that's a long day for an offense.
Here's the handoff. And 1st and 10 for the Cornhuskers as we check in with Robert Flores.
Hey, Brent, here's what's happening on SportsCenter right now. Game 2 of the series between the Rangers and the Rays. Neftali Felice gets Ben Zobrist to fly out, and that ends it. Series tied at 1. Meantime, the suspended game 1 of the series between the Yankees Tigers resuming tonight. Yankees on top 8-1. Robinson Cano, a grand slam.
Yeah, Robert, and here Burkhead with a strong run, but Nebraska's on the short end of a 41-14 score right now.
So who's going to win the World Series?
The Philadelphia Phillies.
Who are they going to play?
Themselves. No, I'm teasing you. And the American League, I like Tampa Bay a little bit, to tell you the truth.
What a way to end the season and get into the postseason.
Yeah. There's the handoff. But just to follow up on the Philadelphia Phillies, that pitching staff, Herbie, I think is one of the best rotations to come along in the last couple of decades in Major League Baseball. I was shocked when they had the 8-game losing streak, but it already wrapped up the division. They were in the playoffs. They had the best record. But you go and lose 1 or 2 games, and you got another ace coming right after you.
That's one after another. It's tough to match up with them in a series.
It's like what it's going to be like as Martinez pitches one to the outside beautifully to Turner, and they've got another first down. So they're putting a drive together here all of a sudden.
Yeah. I think it might have to do with the score of the game and maybe a different mindset from Wisconsin. But you know, I think this game, I talked at halftime. I think Jesse mentioned something even at halftime. Desmond mentioned something at halftime. You're going to see Nebraska going back to kind of who they are, their identity, run the football. In the first play, they came out, play action, threw the ball, and interception. That completely changed the complexion and I think of the mindset of both of these football teams.
Agree. But if you're a warrior like Burkhead, you just keep on bringing it. You don't even think about the scoreboard. You're a football player and you keep on coming with 1 minute left here in the third quarter, 41-14. He's rushed 11 times for 54 yards here tonight. Martinez for 45 yards. They've scored the 2 touchdowns for Nebraska. There's that fake and then basically a running play with Turner on the outside. Still on his feet, no whistle, got the first down.
And he has the option there to run the football or to just throw it out there with Turner being back behind the line of scrimmage, he's just checking first the read. He's going to keep the football, and once he has Borland right in his face, he's got Turner out there just sitting by himself, so it's that triple option that you see so many offenses running these days.
Well, let's see if they can finish this drive. Burkhead, and he is stopped. Herbie, when you think about this Badger team, the dominating Bo Pelini and the Huskers here tonight, consider this stat. They had 12 players go to training camp with NFL teams. 12. That's more than any school in the country. That's a lot of talent. 3 offensive linemen who started as we come to the end of the quarter. But here they are, 1 quarter away from beating Nebraska. This presentation of Saturday Night Football, presented by Southwest Airlines, returns after this message and a word from our ABC station.
It's a Badger tradition.
Between the third and the fourth quarters, jump around, and I can only imagine how they're jumping around on State Street. Second down and goal. Martinez trying to get the Huskers into the end zone. He rides to the outside, and the Badger defense read it perfectly. Kevin Claxton. Herbie, you talked about him early.
Yeah, this defense is not going to give up on his football game, even with this big lead. They're containing Martinez, forcing him back to the inside. It's the way they've been schooled. Borland gets out there, Henry gets involved, Claxton's right there. This defense is flying around right now.
Third down and goal. Fumble on the snap. Martinez picks it up on one hop. It is now 4th down and goal. It all began when they couldn't hook up on the snap.
You talked in the open that this defense is missing a starting safety in Shelton Johnson, a starting defensive end in David Gilbert, and even a corner in Devin Smith. And they're still playing tonight very, very well. A miscue has a lot to do with the energy in this stadium. I don't think Martinez was really focused and ready for the snap. The ball bounces. He's lucky to even get his hands back on the football.
Here's an example of how dominant that defense has been. A 32-yard field goal instead of going for the 7 points. So the field goal is good, but credit the Badger defense on that series. Back in Madison with Kirk Herbstreit and Aaron Andrews, I'm Brett Musburger. The Badgers leading 41-17. Some of those Husker fans who paid scalpers prices here tonight are probably wondering how they can get their money back. White is back deep with Abruderis. This is White from the 6. Shakes a couple of tacklers, and he'll be down around the 25. Well, the NASCAR chase continues. They're in Dover. It's the 3rd race, and nobody is any hotter than Tony Stewart. Smoke has captured the first 2 legs of the chase, almost unheard of, and Stewart has put himself right in contention to win it all. There he is. He has jumped into the lead. Can he make it 3 in a row? Well, tune in tomorrow to find out.
Smoke, huh?
Smoke. Good guy. James White, tough competitor. Would have made a good football play. 1st down and 10. So here comes that running game to work on the clock now when you're up 41-17.
Now you work the clock and you continue to grow as a team on both sides. Nebraska And it's going to be one of those games when you don't want to get into the film room with Carl Pelini and Bo Pelini. And anything you can do to try to help yourself here, you want to show character, you want to show heart. 41-17, and it's still a long way to go in his fourth quarter. Pretty easy to shut it down. You can't do that.
On second down.
There's one guy that won't do it, Levante David.
What a fine linebacker he is.
We thought he might be more involved in stopping this run game. We saw him early. He actually put some pressure on Russell Wilson. That time he shot through the gap there. Made a nice play.
Now we see Jake Byrne, the tight end, is down on the ground being tended to on this play. And also Monty Ball, the running back. So a reminder that right after we finish Saturday Night Football, be sure to stay tuned to your ABC stations for the late local news. And if you want some more sports scores or some highlights from today, tune into SportsCenter on ESPN. .419 yards for the Badgers tonight. 275 for the Cornhuskers. Nebraska has not yet run for 100 yards. 99 on the night. Now they will pass 100, but it has been a struggle for their offense. 3 intercepted passes turned into 21 Badger points here tonight. And next week, Nebraska goes home to play Ohio State in Lincoln. Buckeyes coming off that disappointing loss to Michigan State in Columbus today, in which they didn't score until the last minute of that game. 3rd down and 8. Russell Wilson moves the pocket beautifully, incomplete, and a penalty flag comes flying. Abrederis, the receiver.
That's Deontay Evans, who's had just a tough night tonight, playing out there in man-to-man coverage, and a lot of times he's been matched up with Abrederis. He's kind of trying to state his case that he thought Abrederis pushed off on him, but they're going to get him for the holding call.
10-yard penalty. Includes automatic. First down.
That's 8 penalties on the Cornhuskers tonight, resulting in 65 yards of penalties. Only 2 for 18 yards against the Badgers. And no one can be more disappointed in what's happened here tonight than Bo Pelini, the head coach. Another first down on a power run by Monty Ball, the junior. He's now rushed for 113 yards tonight and 3 touchdowns.
It is pretty impressive to see that he has 113 yards. James White, just not a huge night. 9 carries for 16 yards, but the power is what makes Monty Ball so unique and so special. Osborne hit him pretty good, but even watching Thursday's practice, a guy who was on the scout team accidentally filled the hole against Monty Ball, and boy, he ran right through him. He doesn't care if it's a scout team or he's out here playing Nebraska. He runs one way, and that is full speed.
Ball comes back and picks up a couple more yards on the night. Meredith in on the stop as we check in on some updated statistics regarding our impact players. See how these fellas have done here tonight. Wilson, Ball, and Toon have been standouts.
They sure have. And when you have a quarterback and a tailback and receiver like Al Toon that step up and make plays, Nick Toon rather, step up and make plays for you, it tells you all about the balance and again, the versatility that these guys have. And until you find a defense that can take away and match the physicality up front, they're going to do this to a lot of teams.
Ball continues bringing the hammer.
You know, we talk about the impact players, the quarterback and the running back and the receivers. But you got to talk about the offensive line over and over and over. And this is a big night for them, to be honest with you, Brent, because the first 4 games they played inferior opponents, mainly Oregon State, probably the most high-profile team, and they weren't quite in sync yet. You know, they lost some great players, 3 of them starting now in the NFL from last year. They needed this kind of game against a good defense, I think, to get them the continuity and the confidence as they move on through this game.
James White now comes in to run behind that offensive line. Actually, he'll try to get the edge on this play, and he crosses the 35-yard line. As we check in on these fellas, remember there's only 2 starters back, really. Cones at center and Wagner moving from the right side over to the left. The one thing about being a left tackle at Wisconsin, you are headed for Sunday football.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons they're able to recruit such big guys. You said earlier, you know, they lose 3 guys that start in the NFL. The next 3 step in. And Cons is a guy who I think is very unique. And I guess a lot of the NFL personnel thought that he might have been the best lineman on their line a year ago. He's one of the few centers you see pull after he snaps the ball. He'll get around the edge and lead these running backs on a lot of plays.
He threw a fine block there. White runs the other way, and there's the penalty flag thrown by the referee.
One of the things I find interesting is every time we do a Wisconsin game and we talk to the opposing defensive coaches, and I don't care who you talk to, they all talk about the same thing. They all use the same adjectives. Oh my gosh, this offensive line. This is the best schooled offensive line that we face all year. Perfect technique, effort, determination, attitude. You know, every single team that has to face Wisconsin, that's what they're known for. And the reason it makes it unique that you have Russell Wilson is they're not changing who they are just because of Russell Wilson. They still have that big line and they still have these backs, but they complement it now with Russell Wilson, his decision-making, his poise, and of course his physical ability.
And Cornhusker fans must think about their past when they watch this Badger offensive line, because Barry Alvarez came here, played at Nebraska, loved Devaney, and said, I want a team like the Cornhuskers. And that's what you're watching now with that offensive line that Herbie's talking about, as the Badgers are closing in on a conference win here against Nebraska.
And the other thing that you love about this big offensive line, there's not a lot of body fat on these guys. I mean, they're big boys. They average 6'5", about 322 pounds. But there's not a lot of slop up there on these guys. They're athletic. They move around very well. And that's kind of what they demand from their starting offensive linemen. How often do you see them pulling and coming around the edge? You got to be able to move. You can't just be a big body.
Last 2 left tackles, Joe Thomas, Gabe Karimi, both playing Sunday football. And now Ricky Wagner working on that position as Wilson will go down. Tried to go down and he did. Keep the clock going. He would not step out of bounds on the play. Thorell was there defensively. 8,545 passing yards at North Carolina State. And now he's got the Badgers dreaming of playing for a BCS championship.
Man, look at the slow motion wave here. You ever see that? Oh, man.
Following the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 12, 15-yard penalty, automatic, first out.
Courtney Osborne guilty. Well, if the Badgers score again, they'll be close to hanging half 100 on the Cornhuskers. Who would have thought that? Look at how he gets down to keep that clock running.
Yeah, that's a good job for Nebraska. It's just, again, one mistake after another, and that's what Bo Pelini knew coming in. He said, we've got to quit self-destructing with penalties and turnovers. They've got 9 penalties on the game tonight.
White back in as the tailback. And what a great fake on that play as Abruderis took the handoff and came around in. Herbie, Now for tonight's big picture, brought to you by Sony. Take us through it.
Yeah, another exciting Saturday of college football. Unless you're an Ohio State fan, tough game for Ohio State. Great job by Mark D'Antonio, former Ohio State assistant, coming back and knocking off the Buckeyes. How about Arkansas? That big comeback in the second half. Second straight week that A&M can't hold on after building up a lead at halftime. And Clemson on the road, showing that the magic continues for the Tigers as they go to Lane Stadium and remain unbeaten and knock off the Hokies.
And a big win on the road. White cuts back, gets another first down. And so my question to you, Herbie, could Clemson be this year's Auburn?
I said that this morning going into this game. The way Taj Boyd is running Chad Morris's offense, again a disciple of Gus Malzahn, and the fact that nobody was talking about Clemson, I felt this week coming in that they've become this year's Auburn. And it's interesting that they were able to take it on the road this week and knock off Virginia Tech.
Before we coronate Clemson, keep an eye on this team. The Badgers have shown everybody tonight what they've got. They've rushed for 208, passed for 255, and they've got a leader who's going to be making news the rest of the way. I dare say next week, and all of the folks who bring out those Heisman polls and votes, you're going to see number 16 on those lists. Russell Wilson has made a huge statement here tonight in Madison. And the young man will have a decision to make down the road, as we've got one of the big linemen. That is Zeitler, Kevin Zeitler, who's shaken up, and Brett will go out and he's talking to his quarterback, and why not? What a leader he's got. Herbie, you're impressed with the crowd here at Camp Randall.
I mean, it's just a big party here. I guess when you're up 41-17, they're just singing songs. I mean, back to action. It's like this is a break from the party, the game.
2nd and 8. And here's Ball looking for touchdown number 4. Penalty flag is thrown.
Well, he is a good-looking back,
isn't he?
God, last year.
Holding, number 19, offense, 10 yards.
Just
the foul.
a quick story about
Repeat
Monty
second
Ball.
down.
Last year, John Clay was the featured back early in the year. Big, physical back. And the true freshman, James White, beat Monty Ball out in camp. And as the season went on, James White and John Clay became the kind of the 1-2 punch. And Monty Ball worked himself down to number 3. And instead of going in the tank, he kept working, kept studying film, kept preparing. Then when John Clay got hurt, he stepped in and took advantage of his opportunity. And then it became Monty Ball and James White kind of carried him the last 5 or 6 games of the season. And it's really paid off for him last year. And now, of course, you see him running very, very well this year.
Busts off a would-be tackle, 1 block away from a touchdown. That's his 4th touchdown of the night. Monty Ball put him in the argument and discussion for the Doak Walker Award this year.
Put everybody on this team in every argument.
That's true.
I mean, you're going to have an outlet, I'm sure. Well, if you're going to play Wisconsin, you might want to put the arm tackles, just put them to the side. You better bring your shoulders, and you better lock and load with how physical you're going to have to be able to contain this offense.
Monty Ball, 30 carries, 151 yards, and 4 touchdowns. We've been around Bo Pelini with some tough losses in 2 Big 12 championship games against Texas and Oklahoma. But I dare say that this one here tonight hurts more than either of these. 48 points against the Nebraska defense in their first Big Ten conference game. They did not see this coming.
No, I think you just touched on it. He's lost some tough games, some heartbreakers, but first game in the Big Ten, a conference that he played in He was a captain at Ohio State. He knew the significance of this opportunity for his team, and to not just lose, but to lose in the fashion that they did, devastating.
Abdullah with a burst for him. Gets out to the 40-yard line. Herbie, take a look at the Pacific Life game summary here for us.
Well, if you joined us late, it was interesting early. Both the offenses were going back and forth. Taylor Martinez looked like he was going to settle in, but then the turnovers started. 3 turnovers, which led eventually to 21 points. And every time he turned the ball over, it seemed that Russell Wilson made a big play throwing downfield, this time to Nick Toon on that post route. First play of the second half. They come out, you think they're going to run. He throws the ball behind his intended receiver. It's picked off. And every time, as we said, they've turned this football over. Russell Wilson and the Badgers have been able to capitalize.
There is the pitch to the I-back, and they pick up a 1st and 10 before Mike Taylor is over there on Rex Burkhead.
You talked about how devastating a loss this can be to Nebraska. It's the first conference game. It will really challenge their youth and their inexperience to see how do they bounce back. Still a lot of football to be played. How does Bo Pelini and his staff, how is he able to get them back and get them to believe that they can still have a special year? It's still very early in the year to have this kind of loss.
Ball is loose on the ground, but the line judge ruled it down prior to it coming free. Well, Nebraska looks up, and guess who's coming to town? An angry Ohio State Buckeye team. We could be headed for a real low-scoring game next Saturday night.
You know, you go back to 2000 with this Nebraska program, and they have struggled against top 10 teams. Coming into tonight, they were 2-15 against top 10 teams, and now moved to 2-16.
So Sean Watson's West Coast offense was given up this year for more of the option look, but that hasn't worked against the Badgers tonight.
It looked good early. You know, those first couple drives, they had good field position, and Martinez was making good decisions. We were talking about, boy, he looks like a different guy, and they're running and throwing. And at one point, he was 5 of 7, you know, and it found some open receivers in the middle of the Wisconsin defense, and then it was just like a switch. And started to turn the football over, series after series after series.
The 3 interceptions by Martinez turned into 21 Badger points, and that really is the headline. Final 3 minutes. So Nebraska will return to Lincoln, and they have to regroup. Martinez picks up the first down. And Herbie, what about the quarterback situation for Ohio State?
Well, Braxton Miller started the game today, played the majority of the game, and then they went to Joe Bosserman late. It'll be interesting to see what Luke Fickell and Jim Bowman, the Ohio State offensive coordinator, do when they head to Lincoln, because you could put Robert Griffin behind that offensive line and it wouldn't matter. It's not a quarterback problem. It's a really, really poor offensive line and offensive scheme problem in Columbus.
Martinez just did get rid of the ball before he went down, and Burkhead picks up the first down for the Huskers. And a reminder to stay tuned for the Ford wrap-up show. That'll be coming up right after tonight's win by the Badgers. Martinez takes it back, hit on the delivery, battle in the end zone, incomplete. Kyler Reed the target, but the quarterback took a licking.
This defensive line seems like every time he has dropped back in the pocket, they've gotten pressure, and it seems like Nzegwu has been able to beat the tackle more often than not. He just came off of the block by Hardrick and got to the inside. The crazy thing is Reed still had a chance to make a play there.
Second down and 10.
Gone.
Throws to the outside. Not much of a gain with Cooper's first catch, as we have talked about Nebraska. But here's what the Badgers have ahead of them. Indiana, and then they go on the road to East Lansing and then to Columbus the next week. You would figure that those 2 weeks would wind up being a major test. Purdue, Minnesota, and down at Champaign. And who knows what that could be for. And then they close out here with Penn State. They do not draw Michigan this year. And there's the toss to Burkhead, and Burkhead is out of bounds at the 16-yard line.
With all due respect to their schedule, you know, playing in the Big Ten, and as of right now, they have one ranked opponent remaining on their schedule after playing Nebraska tonight. That would be Illinois. Maybe Michigan State can move up before they play over in East Lansing, but the non-conference schedule, as easy as that was, and then playing in the Big Ten and not really being tested, that's my point about they'll eventually need help to be able to climb the ladder in the BCS standings.
So here is Burkhead still battling on here late in this game, which they are going to lose, but you would never detect that as you watch Rex Burkhead continue full steam ahead. However, your point is such a good one. They need help. They need LSU, Oklahoma, and Alabama to each lose. An unbeaten Wisconsin team getting through a Big Ten championship with those other teams with one loss, then they could be in business.
But this is a different Wisconsin team. We've talked for the last 3.5 hours. It's a different Wisconsin team than we've seen the last couple years when they've had a team that's been competitive. They were in the Rose Bowl last year in the BCS and played TCU. But the quarterback, because he not only affects the offense, I think he affects the confidence of the defense in the way they play as well.
Battling toward the end zone and just short of. Mike Taylor stops the determined back from making the end zone. And you got to take your hat off to these youngsters here on Nebraska who are trying to finish it up with a touchdown with 12 seconds to go. I know the crowd doesn't like it. They don't have a chance to win the game. But right now the Cornhuskers are thinking about next week. Something to build on. 81,384 on hand. And only the black-shirted Nebraska fans have headed for the exits. The Badger fans are still celebrating. And Tuesdays this fall, Tim Allen returns to ABC. New comedy about a man's man living in a house full of women. Tim Allen is Last Man Standing. Series premiere Tuesday, October 11th, 8/7 Central ABC. And Martinez did not get there. The crowd loving that stand. And the two teams pour onto the field. Brett Bielema and the Badger coaches are to be congratulated on what they've put together with this franchise. It's been 37 years since the Badgers have played the Cornhuskers. The last time Nebraska came in here ranked number 4, and the Badgers upset them 21-20. And here tonight, in the first game of the Big Ten ever for Bo Pelini and the Huskers, Wisconsin dominates it. Let's go down below now to Aaron Andrews.
Brent, thanks so much. In the coaches' meetings, I think all of your guys stressed this is a measuring stick game. All right, so what'd you learn about your team?
Well, I liked we had some adversity early on, kept our composure. I thought our guys, played a 4-quarter game against a very good football team, but we got a good football team. We got a good quarterback. He's about his best, good running back. Very excited, very happy for our guys.
About that quarterback, why was he so effective tonight?
Because he is what he is. He's the same guy every day. He doesn't flinch ever. He just kind of takes the whole game for what it is. And the great thing is, he's a Badger.
And what about the fact, you talked about your running attack, Monty Ball, 4 touchdowns tonight. What's it like having an offense this balanced?
Well, I like the fact that it's all the guys kind of working together. Monty's good. You saw Russell trying to block the guy down there to get him in the end zone. I think there's a feeling of just a lot of guys that are selfless, just want to make sure everybody else is better.
All right, go enjoy the feeling. Thanks.
Thank you. Wisconsin.
Herbie, your final thoughts on this big win for the Badgers?
Impressive. I mean, Coach just said it all there to Aaron. This is a team that it seems to be on a mission. We could talk all we want about Russell Wilson, the offensive line, this defense playing well. What he just said is very important. They're selfless. This team wants to win for each other. They don't care who gets the recognition and attention. And when you have that intangible, you're a dangerous football team.
Wisconsin outscores Nebraska in the second half 21-3 for a 48-17 final. Next week, Saturday Night Football on ABC has Ohio State taking on these Cornhuskers in Lincoln. It'll be a bounce-back game for both. It's 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific. Thanks for watching ESPN on ABC. Badgers win a big one. Now we take you to the studio for the Ford wrap-up. Here's Robert Flores. Robert,